The police later told me my actions probably saved lives and prevented a really tragic situation. We are a 2A family. We have multiple firearms in this home, pistols, rifles, shotguns, and they are located throughout my home, on every level of the home, in almost every room of the home. But when I found out about Byrna, I have multiple Byrnas now. Everyone owns one in my family. They all have their own, and we have multiple in this home. At all the entryways, the doorways, basically, is where we keep them. On a Sunday afternoon, I was in front of my home. About 100 yards at the end of my street is a beautiful ball field with four softball fields. And commonly, people travel from all over New Jersey. They have tournaments on the weekend. All four fields were being used. It was absolutely packed with families. Everyone there, they camp out, and they usually park on one side of the street and have to travel to the fields. And I heard a skidding of a vehicle, and then I heard screaming and yelling by people. So I looked down my block, and I seen a black pickup truck, and there was people standing in front of the pickup truck, and I seen someone take out their phone and was screaming. And then I seen the pickup truck just accelerate. Like I heard the engine, and the truck just took off. And I assumed he was trying to get away. Maybe they were taking a picture of his plate or something. And the truck took off towards me, up the street, right towards my house. Uh, as the truck, I'm assuming, shifted gears, I heard the engine change. But when that happened, the back tires broke loose on the truck, and the driver started losing control of the truck. Right when he got in front of my house, the truck turned sideways, and he kind of slid by my driveway. And when he was almost 90 degrees, he T-boned my neighbor's Jeep that was parked on the street. He hit the driver's door in the front fender, and he drove the Jeep up onto the sidewalk, and then his pickup truck slammed against the side, and it went onto the grass, both of them. So a wave of kids started running from the park to the edge of the street to see what had happened. And as I approached the driver's door, the man turned and looked at me, and I could see his face. There was something wrong with him. He was either intoxicated on drugs. He was out of it. And when he seen me, he took the car and he slammed on the gas, and he couldn't move. They were locked together. And I was screaming at him to stop the vehicle, get out of the truck. And then I turned and started yelling to the children in the park, go away, go home, get out of here, go. And he threw it in reverse, and that he was trying to flee the scene. He backed up, but now the vehicles were together, and he drug the Jeep off the curb into the street. Then he put it in drive, and he drove it forward, and he was going back and forth. So I said, I know exactly what to do. I turned, and I ran towards my home, which was the next home, and I ran into my front door. And as I mentioned earlier, I have a Byrna LE at every doorway, right inside my door and easily accessible. I didn't even know. My wife was in the kitchen preparing dinner. I had no idea she was even there. I ran in, grabbed it from where we keep it, ran out the front door, and just headed back to the scene. And my wife, seeing what had happened, knew that there was a serious situation. She knew, why would I come in to get this? So if you see on the video that I shared, she came out, and I ran up to his car, and he was still going back and forth. And right as I got next to his car, the vehicles broke apart, and he flew backwards in the truck, and it was right where the kids were standing previously. And he puts it in drive, and he goes to take off. And what I didn't know or he didn't know is the right side front tire was broke off the vehicle and underneath. And when he accelerated, literally, the truck made a direct right-hand turn, slammed into the curb again, and stalled. And when the truck stalled, he was trying to start it. I ran around, I grabbed the handle, I opened the door opened, and he looked at me. I pointed my Byrna at him, and I said, "Get out of the truck right now." But he knew exactly what was going on. Immediately. His eyes got this big, and he looked at me, and I said, "Get out of the truck right now." He said, "Okay, okay." So we got out of the truck. I walked him over to the curb. I sat him down on the curb. I said, "It's over. Do you understand that?" He said, "Yes." And then when he was calm, I then looked out to see if he was injured. I asked him to lift his shirt. I said, "Pull up your pants leg. Are you hurt? I want to check you for blood. I have an ambulance coming." I said, "Listen, the police are coming, but right now you're having a bad day. If you make any moves, I promise you I can make it a lot worse." He said, "I'm not going anywhere. Everything is fine." And the situation ended right there. In a matter of a few moments, there was 4 police cars on the scene. The incident, was over at that point. The police inspected the vehicle. There was half a bottle of vodka. There was huge vials of pills. I talked to the police and detectives afterward. There was Xanax and Percocets and everything in there. And he was then given a field sobriety test and immediately arrested. And then they came and took my statement, and then I repeated exactly what happened. And the lieutenant walked over to me, and I said, "Is there any problem with how I handled myself here today?" And he said, "Absolutely not." He said, "You did a good thing here, and to be quite frank, you probably prevented a tremendous tragedy." So it was wonderful. I felt pretty good about that.